Gravestones are now in Old School RuneScape. When you die, a gravestone appears and you're given 15 minutes to go and grab the items you lost. This 15-minute timer only counts down when you're logged in, so if you disconnect from the server, your items won't be lost like they previously could be. The same goes for game updates. Previously, when the game updated, all of your items on the floor would disappear, but now the gravestone will remain even after a game update occurs. Your gravestone will also be visible on every world, so if you forget which world you died on, it's no longer a problem. In the world map interface, you can view the location of your grave, indicated by a large red arrow. When you're nearby, a smaller red arrow appears, showing where it is on your minimap. When you reach your gravestone, checking it brings up this interface used to get your items back. There's now a fee that applies when retrieving your items. For things under 100k, there's no fee to cater for low-leveled and less wealthy players. Items over 100k cost 1k, items over 1 mil cost 10, and items over 10 mil cost 100k. All of these stack up, but cap at 500k coins for retrieving them. For Iron Men, these values are halved, since it's a little harder for Iron Men to gather the GP to pay off items, and their cap is at 250k. To view how much the cost will be, you can go to the Items Kept on Death interface, which allows you to see your risk in different scenarios. If you're ever unsure how much you'll need to pay, it's always a good idea to check here. Food and potions will be dropped to the ground instead for at least 45 minutes. So this means you can still make food stacks at bosses like at the Corporal Beast or at the King Black Dragon. If you happen to die on the way back to your gravestone, the items you lose will go into the original gravestone with its 15-minute timer restarting. If you don't manage to make it back to your gravestone in 15 minutes, it collapses and your items are taken to Death's office, which you can access near the spawn locations across RuneScape. There's an entry in the Lumbridge graveyard, there's one at the coffins in Edgeville, one near the altar in Camelot, there's a new crypt in the Falador Castle with access, and there's one northwest of the Tower of Voices in Prif Dinis. Your items will remain at Death's office forever, with a cap of 120 stacks of items being stored there. But the retrieval fee is higher, and it can be a lot higher. The cost is 5% of the item's value for anything that's over 100k. So for example, if you lose an Amulet of Torture, which is 16 mil right now, it will cost 800k to get it back, which is a pretty large amount of money. Iron Men again have a 50% discount, so a Torture Amulet would be 400k instead of 800. There's a coffer in Death's office where you can sacrifice items to add cash into the coffer, and that money can be used to reclaim items. For each item you sacrifice, you get 105% of the Grand Exchange value, but you can't withdraw from it, so that money can only ever be used for retrieving items. As an Ultimate Iron Man, you don't have a gravestone. The mechanics are similar to as they previously were, where your items will remain on the floor for an hour. The only change is that most untradeable items are now dropped as well. The mechanics are pretty much the same because it would drastically change how the game mode is played, since dying and leaving items on the floor is a big part of the game mode with restricted storage. Death in a PvP situation hasn't changed much. The player that kills you still receives the loot on the ground. The only change is untradables that you would have dropped on the ground for yourself to retrieve, like godbooks and god capes, will end up in a gravestone. This doesn't affect untradables that break or for items that turn to coins. They still break and drop money for the player that killed you. The gravestone system works the same way in the wilderness as it does in the regular RuneScape world, as long as you're not killed or attacked by a player. Under level 20 wilderness, everything including untradable items will appear in your gravestone. but above level 20, untradables will disappear, which is the same as before the game update. So don't take items like your fire cape, void, or a fighter torso above level 20 wilderness, since they will still be lost. This can be avoided though using a Retrieval parchment, which costs about 700k on the Grand Exchange, and by using it on the item, you keep it if you're above level 20 wilderness. But upon dying to a player, the parchment is destroyed and leaves the person that killed you with 500k in cash. A number of bosses and mini-games have an item retrieval service where you need to pay a fee to get your items back. This is seen in places like Vorkarth, the Volcanic Mine, or Hespori. These places have not changed, and you still use the same retrieval method as before. With the update though, Zulrah now has a fee to retrieve your items, where previously it was free. It now costs 100k to get your items back, but only if you have above 50 kill count. So if you have under 50, the cost is still free. Some instanced areas, like quest boss rooms and private bossing instances, you would previously permanently lose your items on death and have no way of retrieving them since they were lost in the instance. Well, with Gravestones, now any death in one of these instances will result in a gravestone appearing outside, so there's no longer any instanced area that you'll permanently lose your items. This change also affects Ultimate Iron Men, but instead of a gravestone appearing, the items will appear on the floor outside for an hour. Dying in a God Wars boss room has also been changed, where previously your items dropped onto the floor inside the boss room. Now a gravestone appears outside of the room, which saves you having to tank to get your items back, and it saves you from getting kill count to enter. So that's the gist of the update, but if you still have some questions, you can check out the official news post for the update linked with this post. But otherwise, thank you for watching, and I hope this video has cleared up any concerns or queries that you had.